All right, here we are, Friday noon. It is Thursday, and I'm Mazvita Maraire, your host for Seattle Sports Weekly. And boom, right on time, my guy, that dude, no one, the Dawg report dude, Lars Hanson. What's cracking?
Not much, Maz. Busy day, busy week, good times, great oldies, right?
Yeah. Okay, it's a busy time for one and all, but for you all, that is you all, as in y'all, is when you get a guy like Lars Hanson, that's a busy week for him. I would say I'm just, some of us a little bit just as busy. Only say that because Lars Hanson does along with the Dawg report, he covers all the college sports. In addition, it is about the signing, right? The high school, where they're going, and all of that.
Yep, and ironically for UW, no signings but a transfer. So something still addition to talk about in some way, shape, or form. And there might be a few more changes before spring ball comes back. So we'll see.
Imagine that, and then that's it. Just stop, because I know how you eat, breathe, and live all that stuff. We got that on the other side, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, we can sneak them. Here's a promo, a pub. Tonight on Metro Sports Weekly with Pat McCarthy and we're going to talk about our annual high school, second part 2 annual high school signing from the Metro League, Metro Sports. So all with where all the kids are going. And there's a connection for you. Nicely done, D Money. There it is right there. Nice. And tonight, Leon Neal Jr., who that is an interesting story because his dad played at the University of Washington as a running back. Mm-hmm. Very good running back. Absolutely a legend in California. So his son, I forget what school he played up here. Can't be Seattle Prep. Maybe O'Day. I don't know. I got to do some homework. Yeah. Anyway, the point is he ends up going where?
Where did he actually end up going? That's
WSU.
There we go. Rolo came in with the clutch one.
Yeah, so there you go. So we'll be interested to hear about how Dad feels about that. But obviously, he's a great father. And all this is about mom, dads, uncles, whoever significant parents are in kids' lives that support them and they go to whatever school they want. And that's what's critical. Yes. So we'll go there. But, man, we got to roll on this side because we got all kind of stuff. I'm at the Super Bowl, right?
I saw that on Twitter. I saw you with some questions for, what was it, Mahomes and Frank Clark, right? I think was another one that was on there.
Yeah. So, it's a little flex, but, saving on airfare and everything else, the virtual Super Bowl.
Right.
And we're going to hear from, I forget who I have. I think, we've got Patrick Mahomes, and so we're going to hear from him. And the best question, I don't know if it's on there, was some in the Super Bowl, you have credentials and all that. Some of because it's such a big deal, as you know, everybody wants to be in on the press conference and things like that. So Nickelodeon and those stations, actually the NFL, have a great partnership to allow kids, right, to get that broadcast experience. And best question I heard was, a kid goes, so Patrick, what is a Mahomie? and and it was a best question because he actually, somebody who does, really good person who looks up after others and all of those. It was like, I was like, man, best question I've heard at the Super Bowl that I can ever remember.
You know what's funny about that? You say that the kid asked the question, that reminds me, I think it was Hopkins had that same sort of thing where I think he used his kid or someone's kid to ask him a question, and it was the best question of that press conference too. That's where kids, the next generation is going to save us, man. Not my generation, the one after it.
I remember that. That's right, because it was a couple years ago. That's right. The kid was sitting behind us. Yeah.
But it was a legitimately really good question, and it wasn't a loaded one like, "Hey, Dad, why are you such a good coach?" Or like, it was a legit. It was kind of like the Mahomie one. We're like, wait, why can't a reporter ask that? Because it is. We hear that all the time. Hey, Mahomes. Patrick, what do you think about that nickname? Does that have any interest? For a kid to say it, it just makes it even funnier.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to, as we always do, we're going to flip it around. Let's just go and hear Patrick Mahomes. This is his the Super Bowl press conference. Patrick Mahomes talking to the media at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great athletes that are doing things the right way. LeBron is one of them. He's someone that I can talk to and get advice from. But there's others. I mean, there's a ton of people that are using their voice to make a difference in this world. And I try to take from them and then kind of use my own voice and my own way to make an impact in my community. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is going to be me just getting the ball out of my hands, getting it to the playmakers that I have around me. They have a really good defense, really good defensive line, linebackers, DBs, kind of the whole deal. And so for me, just trying to make positive plays and not making negative ones, and relying on the guys around me to make plays whenever the critical times rise. What makes each of them great really complements the other well. The fact that Tyreek can beat man coverage, catch over the top, be able to make big plays happen. Opens up the middle of the field for Travis. And so to be able to have guys that complement each other so well and individually are such great talents, I think it was what makes them such a dynamic duo and a group of guys that I'm glad that are on my team. Yeah, first, I mean, protections-wise, I mean, he's the best of it as they come. I mean, the fact that he gives me every single tool that is needed so that I know exactly what to do. Even if I get an unscouted unscouted blitz, helps me go out there and be comfortable in the pocket and be able to get us to the right play and the right read. That comes straight from him and his film study and his studying of the opponent's defense. And then, honestly, I mean, there's been no difference. I think a big thing with him and what feeds into this team, especially during a year like this year, is he always preaches control what you can control, and that's your attitude, your work ethic every single day. And that's how he's been. I mean, obviously, he's disappointed he didn't get the opportunity to become a head coach after this season. But he knows that all he can do is make himself and this team better every single day. He comes to that mindset every single day, and it helps us be the best team that we can possibly be.
All right, there you go, Patrick Mahomes, and you know how we do. We kind of splice it up, chop it up. And so obviously the first part he was talking about making a difference. It is Black History Month. I would be remiss. So there was questions, great question about just, philanthropy and what philanthropist things he does and what he, in terms of helping the disadvantaged and all those kinds of things. So that was him right there talking about that. And then obviously the Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce duo that they have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Travis Kelce, best tight end in the NFL, still doesn't get enough recognition for it. Like, I think he's evolved that position from what Gronk did. And Gronk, that's the matchup I'm actually most intrigued for in the Super Bowl, is to see how those two guys make an impact. Yeah,
and what we're gonna do is actually I'm gonna flip the script as usual, but because we're gonna hear from Seahawks have a new offensive coordinator. Shane Waldron. So the reason I do the duo thing is because of Seahawks have, they have two of a three-part. It'd be interesting to see. The two obviously are DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. So you got that. Now, if you can get something out of your tight end position, Greg Olsen is gone, which is fine. And then your UW guy, if he can, play, and I can't remember his name. You imagine
Will Dissly.
Exactly, Will Dissly, and also Colby Parkinson. That's why I was focused from Stanford. Last year, can he play? It'd be interesting. So, that's why I bring the duo thing. And then lastly, and we'll hear from Shane Waldron, and hold your comment because I already know I can see your wheels turning. And he is going back. The last part was about Eric Bieniemy, who I don't know why he does not have a head coaching job. And he is the offensive coordinator. Well, we know why. He's an offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs. So all 7 new head coaches were hired, and only one is African-American. Robert Saleh went to the New York Jets. He was the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. So look, so you would think that if that's the formula that you are using, right, if that is the Plummer's test, then why wouldn't the offensive coordinator for the best offense in the NFL for the unstoppable for the last couple of years, you would think. Now, it's not like Bieniemy just walked onto the scene. Where did he go to college?
Colorado.
Yeah, you go, attaboy. The enemy, they used to say. And and then he went to coaching. So he's been around for a lot of years. So that's what the discussion was about. And Patrick Mahomes talked about that. So I'm done. The black coaches just don't get the opportunity. I'm not going to spend any more time about it. NFL doesn't want to do anything about it. The owners just don't. When they decide to do that, they will. Anything else is Mickey Mouse. We ain't got the time. It is what it is. I ain't got time. All right, so let's hear. I do got time to. Let's do this. Let's bring Evarist in. I don't want him to wait in the back room for long. What's going on, my brother?
What up? Yay. We back. Yeah. Lars, what up, brother?
I love that background, man. What that is a sharp looking back. I mean, he's got the setup every time he has the setup. Oh man. Let's go, man.
Okay, man. Dude. He's a professional NBA correspondent, international.
Hey, man, I'm just a guy next to the guy next to the guy, man. Stop it.
Okay, well, we're all guys next to each other, so now we're a team. We're trying to get it done. So
hey, I'm just trying to be fluent in Ebonics, you know what I'm saying?
I don't know if you saw that, but Daniel D Money says to me, Lars is Lars the Dawg Report or that Dawg Report? And he says, and I say the Dawg Report, LOL. And he said, I host a hip hop show, so I can never be sure. And I said, okay, so you're fluent in Ebonics, right? So
what's up, guys? Long time no see. Happy February. Happy Black History Month, everybody out there.
Yeah, we just went with that. I brought you on for a quick second. I didn't want you to stay in the back room. We heard from Patrick Mahomes.
My Texas brother, Patrick Mahomes.
And so we hear from offensive coordinator Shane Waldron, the Seahawks' new offensive coordinator. We'll take a couple cuts from him, and then we'll get back to basketball, WNBA. But I didn't, I just wanted you to be part of the show. I didn't want you sitting in the back room.
That's all. I'll listen to y'all talk. Lars on the move today. He on the go, man. The Dawg Report got to keep moving.
Yeah, he does. Sometimes he moves a little too fast, but that's all right. That's all right. All right. So the Seahawks fired. Yes, they fired him because there's this thing about if you're black. I am unleashed, unconstrained anymore. You know what I'm saying? I'm just tired. I'm just going to say the way that it is. If you are black in sports, you get fired. If you are white, there's a mutual parting of the ways. So that's something that Bobby Wagner actually, brought up and said. So, yeah, Seahawks fired Brian Schottenheimer, offensive coordinator. So then they hired Shane Waldron. Why do you use that name kind of familiar a little bit to the geeks out there? Because he was the passing game coordinator for the LA Rams.
Yeah, his name sounds familiar. Rams, yeah.
Yeah, so the reason why they did that was if you can't beat them, join them. or at least bring him over to your team. So here is offensive coordinator Shane Waldron. What you want to hear for is the fact that he's never been an offensive coordinator, right? But he has been. He was a tight ends coach, and then he was a passing game coordinator, which is different. So here we go. Shane Waldron talking to us about his new gig.
Several days, over the course of several days, we spoke, had some great conversations, starting with philosophy, starting with my history, and really taking it all the way through things that he believed in, and at the end of this thing, really just making sure that we were aligned in how we view the game, how we view things moving forward. And one of the big things that I was excited about is just always seeing from the outside looking in, and knowing, I feel like I'm coming from a football culture that was unbelievable, with the people and the way everyone interacted, and the things that I was able to be lucky enough to be a part of with the Rams. But always seeing like, hey, that Seattle team seems like they have a lot of the same core beliefs, and then getting a chance to talk to Pete about his desire to field a team that's always based on that mindset of competing, and that's such a key and critical factor in this, and not just saying you're going to compete, but making everything that you're doing every day some form of a competition to look to improve, and how we're going to get there. This is where I think speaking with him about the development of people and trying to bring out the best version of everyone's self is something that's really, hits home for me. It's something I really believe in, where, it is a team game, but there's a lot of different special individuals that make up a team. And so we talked a lot about, working together. And, I think, from the start of Pee Wee football all the way up to the professional level, it's a great game, and it's always based on fundamentals. And I don't think that can get lost just because, you're getting higher and higher up as far as the competition and the level of players. So it's going to be a fundamentally sound group that's going to be bought in together, working well together. And we're not going to let a day go by where we're not working on one of the fundamental core beliefs of our offense, whether it's blocking, whether it's catching the ball, it's the exact detail in which we're going to take a handoff, or the exact detail in which we're going to run a route. So that's the number two thing. And then really for me, our offensive philosophy, we're going to be a balanced offense that's going to have that ability to create explosive plays with that attacking mindset that I've been preparing for my whole life. And so I think it's one of those things that I'm ready to get going with, and excited to attack that opportunity. I've learned a ton from Sean along the way with that play calling experience. He's allowed me the opportunity to do it in different settings, whether it's the preseason or scrimmages or practices. So I've had a little hand in it that way, knowing that that's obviously not the real deal, and there's going to be that opportunity here coming up. But like I said, it's just one of those things where I feel like, I'm a guy that likes to prepare. I want to be organized. I want to have a really consistent approach. And in my mind, that preparation began a long time ago, and I can't wait for this chance to go ahead and do it. Providing me a platform to grow and develop in this business has been so instrumental to leading me to this opportunity. And I get it. There's a competitive nature that all of a sudden just switched sidelines with this thing. But with Sean and with Les and Kevin and the rest of the Rams organization, along with all those coaches and players, I wouldn't be here without them. And I am so appreciative, but also ready to compete and ready to get after this 2021 season with the Seahawks. So the biggest thing, obviously every run play is going to get started with the guys up front, and their ability, whether it's the O linemen, the tight ends, the ability to get that play started. And then, the next part of that is the backs' ability, and making sure that the backs are on the right track and have a great vision of what the linemen are trying to do, how they understand how to set those blocks. And then the second and third level to that is going to be whether it's the receiver, their tight ends downfield, in that takes all 11 mentality to go ahead and say, I'm going to be that guy that springs someone on a touchdown block. And then, that's always going to be the mindset, right? Everyone has a job on every single run play. They fit into it in a specific way that's designed to get that play to a certain level in the defense. And then there's always going to be, it's a numbers game, right? And that quarterback's not necessarily lead blocking anyone anytime soon in an NFL system. So that's where it's going to be talking to the backs about that slash running and those abilities to attack an edge and work an edge on a defender, because there's going to be a point in time on any explosive run where the back's going to have to take over and either make one miss or run somebody over, which is just part of the game and part of their job and how they fit into the scheme. It's to be some of the most creative football at the high school level, and then it trickles up to the college level and then up to the pros, because you're talking about some scenarios in those settings where the playing field is not always equal. In pro ball, everyone is so close. I mean, the margin for error is so small. Everyone's so similar in their abilities. So being able to bring out the best of their abilities is a huge part of it. And within that is where I think, like I said, having a pulse of the league, having a pulse of what's going on in college football, where you can say, okay, here's our core offense. Here's what we're doing from a system standpoint. But what can we do that fits our system that's happening around the league, and always staying on the front end of stuff that fits us and fits our players. So I think that's just that's an ongoing process. There's always an evolution to these offenses. There's in football, there can be that cycle of waves of whether it's defensive structures or offensive philosophies. But I think just always going in with the core foundation and then ever evolving to your players and and always to be open to discussions on things that are going on around throughout all of football.
All right. So, before we get to Beyond the Arc, I'm going to ask you, Lars, are you buying? Because here's what was said, right? The unsaid. We're going to be creative. We're going to kind of tweak the stuff, and we're going to run like the Rams, which was really insightful in terms of how they hit that edge, because that is a key in the NFL, right? You got to get to set the edge. Where on defense, you set the edge, you start the run. On offense, if you get there, you block that edge, then you go. You buy it or sell it?
I'm going to actually buy it because of the other guy who they brought on, the run game coordinator, Andy Dickerson. I think having that pairing allows me to actually believe, at least initially, what he's saying, where setting the run, setting the edge. As long as Shane has that guy to bring with him and help him kind of make that transition, I believe in him more than if it was just Shane on his own trying to implement that system. I wouldn't buy it as much, but I still think it's going to be a run-first offense. I don't think it's going to be a let Russ cook. I don't think it'll be as creative as he's saying, but I still give him a shot.
Interesting enough, there was a later on in that interview, he was asked about bringing the run game coordinator now. And Pete Carroll asked Shane Waldron, is there anybody else that I need to bring with you? You want to bring with you? And he said, yes.
That
and they
guy.
went about him. Yeah. Which is interesting. The question also was the fact that they had, I want to say, I wrote it somewhere. They had 46 runs, the Seahawks, of plus 12 or more, and 27 of those ended up being a touchdown. So, they really get to understand, the plus 12. And then I think 7 were punts, and one was an interception. They ended that. That was the end result. And the reason why the 7 is because, so you make the long run, and it could have been second and, second and 30. So
right.
You 12 yards, and now you got fourth and whatnot, third. So anyways, I'm buying. I also think that he has the free reign, and the guy looks like he's 16 years old. I mean,
yeah. And I'm not saying he sounds 16, but he sounds 18. He looks 16 and he sounds like 18, maybe 19.
Interesting to see. All right, so there we go. And now, so I'm looking around here. He could be the new Pete Carroll. I go to the WNBA site, right? So the first thing it says is this pop-up is have any of your players change teams? It's a problem. Like how it's crazy. So we know here, Everest, we know that Alicia Clark is gone. Heartbreak Hotel.
Man.
2012. Candace Parker went from the Sparks to Chicago. What's going on with the NBA? WNBA, we'll talk about it in a second, but give us the lay of the land. What's happening?
Well, glad to be back. Thanks for having me on again, everybody.
I'll stop that.
Hey, hold on. Hey, look, I had to listen to y'all talk about a little football. Hey, we back, to talk about a little round ball now. You know what I'm saying? Starting with the WNBA, like you said, there's been a lot going on with movement there. Alicia Clark, Candace Parker, the list goes on and on about the names. It all really comes down to money. It seems like every time we get on here, we talk about the bag, securing the bag. The WNBA, it's just a numbers game. The collective bargaining agreement came down a couple years ago to give the players, give the teams about $400,000 more in cap space. So they have that now, so they have some flexibility, and the players are getting some big contracts. Alicia Clark, she was on a 3-year, $260,000+ deal, about $85,000 a year. But she was the 7th highest paid player on the Seattle Storm roster, which is crazy. Her being the 3-and-D, tenacious type player, so she got to go get that bag, like we always talk about. That's our go-to phrase. So that's kind of the thing right now with WNBA. Players trying to get paid. The new collective bargaining agreement, they just trying to get that money.
Hold on. Just so we're clear, the bag is not ours. That's you. You're the bag man.
Hey, I look like the bag man today too, don't I? I'm dressed like the bag man too, huh?
Hey, when you own the bag, I do believe you can dress anywhere you want, right?
You're right.
So, free agency is always good for sports. Everest, is the free agency, the movement, good for the WNBA?
I believe so, because you got to keep things new. You got to keep things fresh. I believe the WNBA, they're trying to make more news. They're trying to get more splash. They're trying to be more relevant, in my opinion. And I believe, with NBA, they have players that move around. They're marquee players. I believe, why not the WNBA? They can do the same thing. I think it was a real big thing for Candace Parker to be with the LA Sparks for 13 years, winning multiple championships, and now coming back to her hometown team, the Chicago Sky. That's a really big deal to do that. So I just think it's great, for the big time players like Candace Parker. I believe Alicia Clark is a big time player too as well. She's known as around the world, around the league, one of the best defenders. Multiple time all defensive team. So I think it's really good. WNBA needs more of that, in my opinion.
Yeah, and nicely done, D Money. Diana Taurasi stayed with the Phoenix Mercury. So you got. Is there 2 tiers here? Candace Parker aside, right? Because I think she's in the Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi thing. So let's say whatever that upper echelon is, and would you say Alicia Clark is second? I'm splitting hairs here. What I'm trying to get to is this. You do need your big, like you wouldn't want Sue Bird going to Phoenix, or you know what I'm saying?
Got to keep Brianna Stewart in Seattle,
So is it like you got to keep those? Well, I guess it is. You got to keep the franchise, the face of the franchise at home, correct?
Correct. I believe so. And I think with the Candace Parker situation, it was just time. She accomplished everything in LA with the Sparks. She did pretty much everything, reached all the goals, multiple time MVP, multiple time WNBA champion, and she had to tell her on her career, and why not go home and play? So, but I do believe, with your Minnesota Lynx, like your Maya Moore's a franchise player, your Las Vegas Aces, your Liz Cambage, franchise player, Miss Wilson just got the statue. Those are franchise players. I think some of those players like that are cornerstone players. Elena Deladons, you can't let them move out the way in their prime. I think Candace Parker, she probably maybe just a tad bit past her prime, but she's still got a couple years left in her. But I think it was a good move. Yeah,
now well said in terms of it is time to go home and like she said, she's quoted saying, I want to go play in front of my grandmother and everybody else is there. So, all right, my man, hang on because we're going to, as always, we got to keep you over with all the negative the bags that you out here. Hang on to that bag while we go on the half break, okay? And then we'll be right back. We're gonna go on the as we do at the halftime. We're gonna go to the locker room here on Seattle Sports Weekly. I'm Mazvita Maraire. He is Evarist Akujobi, and he is our NBA correspondent, and it gives it all. That's just a basketball correspondent. WNBA, NBA, little college. He knows the round ball. And then, of course, Dawg report. Lars Hanson. We'll be right back.
You can't get enough of Rainier Avenue Radio. .world.
This is the news on Rainier Avenue Radio.
The Seattle Seahawks search for a new offensive coordinator appears to be over. Per Como News, the Seahawks plan to hire Los Angeles Rams passing game coordinator Shane Waldron for his vacant offensive coordinator job. Waldron spent the last 4 years with the Rams organization, including 3 years as his passing game coordinator. He has not called plays during any of his 7th season as an NFL assistant coach. Last season, the Rams finished as the NFL's 23rd best offense, 23.3 points per game. Waldron will reportedly replace Brian Schottenheimer, who was let go January 12 due to philosophical differences with the team. The Seahawks interviewed former Los Angeles head coach Anthony Lynn, Las Vegas Raiders running back coach Kirby Wilson, and requested an interview with Buffalo Bills quarterbacks coach Ken Dorsey in their search for a new offensive coordinator.
And that's your news on Rainier Avenue Radio.
This is your Rainier Avenue Radio.world community update on the new City of Seattle Community Resource Hub, a one-stop online shop for city resources and information. Supported by the Seattle Department of Neighborhoods, the Community Resource Hub can be found at seattle.gov/resource hub. It's an online portal of city resources, information, and tools to help community members connect and engage with city government and with each other. That is seattle.gov/resource hub.
Kind of nonsense conversation are we having here?
The Neon Ghost Show. Right here on Rainier Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Right about now.
Rainier Avenue Radio.world. I'm so tired. I have to pee.
Atlantic Street Center has been serving the children, youth, and families of the Seattle-King County area since 1910. We partner with families and communities to raise healthy, successful children and youth through services including counseling, early learning, youth development, domestic violence, and education support for school-aged children. Committed to serving the African-American community, Atlantic Street Center provides services and support for all marginalized people. Learn more at AtlanticStreetCenter.org.
This is Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Yeah, we are back. And you know what? I'm Mazvita Maraire, Seattle Sports Weekly. Here we are on Rainier Avenue Radio.world, and I have Evarist Akujobi. He is our basketball correspondent. We say NBA, but he's WNBA and all things basketball. And Lars Hanson, as I said, coming out of the break there of the Dawg report. Everything college, everything Huskies and high school. So, but I have no qualms about giving an extra plug to the Atlantic Street Center. Partnered with them for a lot of years, y'all. If you need some, they're one of the premier nonprofit youth agencies, along with Say Futures, that have that are out doing things in the community. And I mean, like, Friday night, 8 p.m. running programs, Friday night at midnight, and wraparound services for kids. No matter whether you're red, brown, blue, whether you identify as male, female, other, LGBT, any of that, you go there. If you're listening and you need some services, you do that. Or actually go to RainierAvenueRadio.world. I'm sure we've got a website page that's there. All right, so there you go. That's kind of my free plug for those things.
Can I give a little plug real quick, bro?
Okay.
I just want to give a shout out actually to some of my Seattle basketball hoopers up there. Shout out to Marcus Williams, a fellow Seattle basketball player, former pro, killing the game out there in Seattle with his real estate, Windermere Real Estate. So shout out to him over at Alki, doing good things. Y'all go check him out, Marcus Williams on Instagram. You need your real estate service. One of my good friends, Seattle's own. And I also want to give a shout out to Isaiah Thomas on the Seattle's own as well. Making Team USA on his way back on a comeback. So I just want to give a shout out to two of those Seattle basketball guys.
All right, and this commercial break was brought to you by Seattle Sports Weekly. Thank you for the plug. We know Isaiah Thomas well out here. We do. We've known him since he played in Tacoma, and Marcus Williams as well. So thank you for those. Let's get to the NBA. Should fans be allowed to talk to players?
Man, I know we're not talking about the Rajon Rondo brother situation in the bubble. I think we're talking about the LeBron James with the courtside Karen in Atlanta a few days ago. Man, so I'm just going to give you all a little bit of behind the scenes. My career, I spent a few years in the NBA as a performance coach. I sat on the bench. I was privy to a lot of behind the scenes things, and I would hear a lot of things. And, fans that sit courtside, they can be either pro or against you, depending if they're home or away. And you sitting that close, you could hear people say certain things. You can see people dress in certain type of ways that you probably won't see on everyday TV. So to hear this news with the courtside Karen, Juliana Carlos, I believe her name is, talking a little noise to LeBron in Atlanta, saying she was defending her husband. And LeBron said that her and her husband was talking a little noise back and forth. That's just normal banter. She kind of came out of left field and kind of said a couple of things that she shouldn't have said. I think the altercation that was going on, altercation, it's a little back and forth between LeBron and her husband. It wasn't nothing, just kind of harmless, player fan taunting type stuff, but she kind of took it to the next level. I think that's why it's got so much news.
All right. So So the question was, should fans be allowed to talk to players?
I believe so. As long as it's respectful, in a respectful manner.
How do I manage that? Who's supposed to manage that?
I think as long as you don't cross the line talking about nobody's family, calling nobody out their name,
How do I manage that? Who's going to regulate that?
I really don't think you can regulate that. You can't have a security guard stand on every row. You can't put a muzzle on the fans. A lot of NBA players have come out and said, they missed the fans. So I believe it's just a thing that's always going to be there.
I totally disagree. Because I think actually LeBron said something and then he brought it back. Because as a referee, right? And if you can't regulate it, the NBA fans and any fan should really stick to either cheering for their home team or in the context of the game. That's it. Because on this one, the officials didn't know. They came back, intervened, and then security came. Then she got kicked out. Now, there's all the he said, she said. I mean, it's not really the point. Point is then, okay, LeBron was like, it was okay. LeBron was real masterful in this. He did say we want the fans, but he said you could tell they were feeling good about themselves, alluding to that they had been drinking. So I would say the ushers, and because look, as fans, you don't get the right just to talk crazy. You're not going to the zoo and seeing the animals perform. That's why it's just for me. We're going counterpoint here. You don't get to do that. Just because you paid your ticket doesn't give you the right. You cheer for your team. That's it. So, what do you got to say to that?
Now, I agree with that standpoint. My point was, since I've been there and I've sat in those seats right there before, and that like I said, as long as the fans are being respectful, they're not being belligerent. Obviously, like you said, LeBron felt this group of people had a little bit too much to drink. Those type of people, I don't condone them being. But if it's normal, fun banter, I don't have no problem with that.
Yeah, no, I've covered the NBA and Sonics when they were here. But my point is this: how do you manage that? I get it, right? But I've been in the, how do you manage it? That's the question.
I don't have a real clear-cut answer, to be honest.
I think it is difficult, and so I think you have to, like the Seattle Mariners, have the best thing in terms of they say that they have this thing about, it's really brilliant. They have this philosophy about people that were male-female kissing, right? Showing affection, right? All right. And then they were like, okay, so two males kissing, right? People were like, well, that's not fair. And then the two males and the two females were, well, wait a minute. If you're going to allow a male and a female to kiss, why can't two females kiss? And so they're like, oh, okay. So the Mariners have this thing that says no public display of affection for anybody. So why I'm bringing this is if you have a blanket kind of thing, Evarist, just to say that, cheering is fine for your, for your team, but any disrespect has to stop. So, yeah, I agree.
I agree with that.
A counterpoint,
I agree. I agree with you on that. I think that also too. Well, since I've been behind the scenes with a lot of players, I think from what I hear from players that they get more adrenaline. They like sometimes when the fans talk a little noise to them. They like that. They like that bantering back and forth with the fans. Obviously, when you step over the line, you get into a Ron Artest Mouse in the Palace type situation. So I think that's the kind of what I know from some of the guys I know from behind the scenes. That's all.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And I'm saying that, it's so subjective, right? Because Ron Artest, whatever, but that's no different. There's a certain line that you can't cross.
Right, exactly.
I'm not condoning violence. I'm not doing that. Go ahead. What do you got, Lars? What do you got?
Well, I was gonna say on the Ron Artest point. Remember, he was laying on the bench, like on the side, and then a fan threw something down, and that's what instigated it.
Right.
So it's a matter of how can you, and to the whole point here, how do we control fans not throwing things on? Is there maybe? Do you not have certain fans sitting courtside, but you sit maybe a few rows back so that you can't be as close to the players, and it can't be like that?
Or what you gonna do? Be like NHL, put some plexiglass up around the whole court, because the NBA did talk about that after the bubble, putting some plexiglass up around the whole court to make when fans come back. So, do you want to do that route? I mean, I don't know.
Evarist, you're the NBA guy. I don't know. I mean, that's money. Those seats, right? The seats where you said, well, what did Jay-Z say? I could trip a referee. When you're sitting that close.
Right. Feet on floor.
Yeah. Yep. Those aren't your as you said, don't you need a bag to be able to buy those seats, Evarist?
Yeah, I think that's what, to be honest with you, I think that's what the NBA is kind to, excuse me, the NBA has a little conundrum. Because, LeBron's are facing the NBA. That LeBron, goes upstairs to, to Adam Silver and the boys up there and be like, yo, look, we got to do something about this. They're going to listen. So I think, you've seen little altercations here and there with some guys like Westbrook with the situation in Utah last couple of years. Some other guys getting into it, fans, but LeBron getting into it, a fan, all being in the bubble. A limited number of fans there. I think the league is really going to take notice of that. And like you said, the fans sit courtside. They think they're paying all this money that they can say anything they want. That's not the case, So.
Well said. Yeah, and I just thought, you guys, I thought LeBron handled it masterfully because he touched on all the points. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just if you really from a PR perspective, everything he said, we need the fans, right? So you can't alienate those, right? And then he said, well, I don't think it should have been this is what I like. He said, well, I don't think they should have been kicked out. Yeah. And I'm like, what? Then he goes, but the referees did whatever they felt they had to do. And I'm like, oh, yeah. He got that.
Yeah.
So, all right.
I like that too, LeBron. He played both sides of the coin on that one.
He's eloquent. I mean, that's the thing. You know what I'm saying? Very, very eloquent. And so, all right. Well, as we always do, we run it over and all of that stuff. Real quickly, before we let you go, and if you want to hang around for the college segment, you can. But I want to hear Lars. We've got the new defensive. Well, we've got the head coach for the on. But Evarist, in terms of the anything else, I know the NBA All-Star vote is coming up, and what else are you hearing? Behind the scenes.
Well, I think the biggest news right now. There's two big things with the NBA All-Star game. coming down March 7th in Atlanta. At first there was not going to be a game. Now there's going to be a game. There's a lot of news about, the NBA All-Star game in Atlanta on March 7th. So that's coming down. That looks like it's going to happen. And if that does happen, it'll benefit HBCUs and, their charities and things of that nature. So that'll be a pretty big thing. But I know a lot of guys in the NBA are kind of on the fence, happy, not happy, because if the All-Star game takes up 5 days, they have to be there for 3 days. They only get a day off each side of the All-Star game. So a lot of guys are, kind of a little rumbling about that. So they just want their time to rest and recuperate, because right now all teams are playing pretty much back-to-backs or every other day with minimal rest. So trying to get this condensed schedule going on. So that's like the big hot topic right now. Another thing with COVID, games being canceled, postponed. The league come down saying now all players have to wear a certain type of mask while they're on the bench. Some guys you've seen wear bandanas or kind of their own kind of masks or custom masks and things like that. So that's a new thing that's coming out right now. They have to wear the N95 mask or another type of mask that's league mandated. So you should see that coming here soon, probably either today or tomorrow or when the next game start being played, making it mandatory.
Man, you see that, Lars? You like that? We did like the pre-release news.
And sorry. I like it.
Go ahead, Lars. I'm sorry, I talked over you. Go ahead. What'd you say?
Oh, no, I said I like it. I was trying to cover my cough at the same point of saying I like it.
Well, hey, man, I might get you one of them K95 masks, man.
Thank you. That's exactly what's going with that, Evarist. Absolutely. Off air, you can go ahead and give me your address and all that. You know what I'm saying?
I got a lot of things in my bag right here. I got a couple masks too.
Wow. You only got one thing in that bag, and we know what the money. All right, so he's Evarist Akujobi. Again, he is our b-ball expert, insider, and it's just incredible in terms when you get some inside information. And he does he's got a podcast and a bunch of other things. He comes in, does our weekly Beyond the Arc, so he'll always be back, and we'll get more updates. So, Evarist, you can stay. You can go do whatever you want because you want a family. And here's what we got. So the UW, we did talk. UW hires in-house defensive coordinator. Let's do this because I know he's chomping at the bit. And you know what? I just want to tease him. Hey, D Money, can you go to the Jimmy Lake audio first?
Well, Happy New Year to everybody. Haven't seen you guys in a while, and now I'm just staring at these blank boxes here. But we do miss you guys, and can't wait to see you guys here soon. So we've had some staff changes, as you guys know. And first, I want to thank Pete Kwiatkowski for his long service here and his friendship, which will remain for the rest of our lives. We wish him continued success. He, had an opportunity that he's always wanted, and we are in no way ever going to stand in the way of, our coaches or our staff, for that matter's dreams. And so he's excited for the new opportunity. We're excited for his new opportunity, and we wish him continued success. Definitely want to say thank you again, and thank you also to his family. Laura, you'll be missed. His wife, Laura, and his kids, Shelby, Riley, and Olivia. Even though you guys are no longer in the Dawg family, you will always be in our football family, and we'll miss you guys, and we love you. Okay. Well, over the years, the strength of our defensive staff has been we've had a number of defensive coordinators, not named, but former defensive coordinators on our staff, and we've played some big-time defense around here, as you guys have known, and we have a bunch of really good ideas and a bunch of really good coaches over on that side of the ball. And so once this occurred, we did an exhaustive process. We interviewed numerous people around the country at different levels, college, NFL, and we came back. We had the best defensive coordinator right here on our staff, and that's Bob Gregory, who has an extensive years of calling defense for 15 years at the college level. He's been an integral part of what our defensive success here when we are at Boise State and also here at the University of Washington. His steady leadership, his sound run fits and also pass coverage, being right there in the middle of the inside linebacker position, knowing front and back, and also knowing that we didn't want to stray far from our defensive front, the way we have it set up right now. We know we got something really good going on. We've been the number one defense, I believe, 5 out of the last 7 years here since we've been here. And so we want to continue that success, and we're excited for Bob Gregory to take over the reins. And then also, we're going to move Akaika Malloy, who's been one of our best coaches on our whole staff and definitely one of our best recruiters. We're going to move him to outside linebackers. He's done a phenomenal job of recruiting and coaching the defensive line, and now we expect that same success with the outside linebackers. And I know he's excited for this new opportunity. And then his, along with the changes, who's worked really, really close with Coach Malloy in the last 2 years is Rip Rowan. And we've personally seen how smart, how knowledgeable, and how much energy and juice that Rip possesses, which I cannot wait for you all to see once we get to practice. And so Rip Rowan will be our new defensive line coach. Okay. And then the last change here, which we're excited about all these changes, but Keith Bonifaz is our new special teams coordinator. He's always been in the mix at all phases of our special teams for all the years that we've been here. And then just most recently, he coached our kickoff returner and punt returner, but he's always been a part of every single phase and game planning. And his energy, his juice, his enthusiasm, and his new ideas is going to be really, really exciting for our team and for our players and for our staff. And we are really looking forward to him taking over the reins of our special teams. And the last notes here, 2 of our signees that signed with us in December are currently here. So I just want to give you an update on those guys. Those 2 guys are here. They're already lifting. They're with the team. They look great. It's great to see their faces. Quentin Moore, our tight end, and then Kwao Peopa is here as well. And so our defensive linemen. So we're excited. Those 2 guys are here. They're enrolled. They're lifting weights. They're running around. And then also our transfer quarterback is also here, Patrick O'Brien. And so we have 3 new guys currently on campus. Yeah, it's interesting. You go into it eyes wide open, and you really want to listen to these other candidates and what they would bring to the table. But definitely during all those interviews and after the interviews and weighing the options, it just kept going back to an internal hire that made the most sense. Our defense has been extremely successful. We definitely didn't want to bring in just a whole different brand new defense for our guys to learn. There's a lot of stability here and knowing that we're not going to just completely throw our defensive scheme in the garbage can and start from scratch. We are not doing that whatsoever. Now it's going to be, we're going to build on what we've done in the last 8 years and add different wrinkles just like we normally do. And our coaches are already doing what they would normally do in an off season, is researching the best of the best. And we're going to bring those new wrinkles here and install them and continue to be successful on that side of the ball.
All right, Mr. Dawg Report, go.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy Lake is right from a sense where promoting Bob Gregory from inside linebacker coach to defensive coordinator allows to have greater continuity. All the players know him. To Bob Gregory's credit, and I know most people don't want to hear this, but you have Eddie Ufon Olafashio, you have Jackson Sermon, you have Josh Calvert, you have Daniel Hamili, you have a number of young linebackers, most of which actually outside of the first 2, Sermon and Eddie, who haven't played much. So my hope, at least the way that I'm viewing this promotion, hire, appointment, however you want to call it, is that maybe Bob Gregory will be allowed to tap into his position group and get more creative with that. And maybe that's also part of why Jimmy is empowering him to say, hey, let's maybe loosen it up, get some other guys some more playing time. And on the Kukowski note, I think, look, when Texas shows up with a few extra bags, Washington wasn't going to match. It was a perfect fit for him. And I think for Lake, the staff changes that he made allowed it to be a more seamless transition. And if anything, I don't see it as a step back. It's more of like a step to the side and then maybe up, depending on how they go this season. But it's not a step back. And I think that's what Lake was trying to say. He was trying to make sure that the program kept moving forward. And if you bring somebody new onto the staff who wasn't within the program and it's a totally different scheme, that takes a lot more time to catch up everyone up, and then maybe you have transfers. And so keeping the unit together, I think, was what he was looking for, and I think that's what he did.
Okay, I got that, but do you think it was a good move?
Yeah, I do. I think in the sense that Gregory, when he was a defensive coordinator at Cal from 2002 to 2009, never had a defense allow more than 28 points a game.
Oh,
basically the exact same thing as Kwiatkowski. However, Kwiatkowski's always had, I don't want to say it's like the section of everyone just viewed him in a better light, and people just don't like Gregory for various reasons, maybe hard edge kind of guy, whatever you want to call it. But I still like the hire.
I'm sorry, Lars. Who's people? The players or administration? Well, not administration, but
the fans. Like fans, and because I think everybody likes Gregory. That's why he's, in terms of from the administration, the players love him. I think, but he's kind of one of those guys where it's, he's an acquired taste, and not in a bad way. But I think that's why I think that this hire works, because he's going to be allowed to be himself again, and he hasn't been himself the past couple of years because he's been stretched thin as a special teams coordinator. So I think having him just be back to the defense is going to be a lot better for him and the team overall.
Okay, but I'm not sure shedding the offensive, the special teams, and then getting the defensive coordinator as a whole is less body of work. But the fact that he was defensive coordinator from 2002 to 9, you said, at Cal?
Yep.
Defense wasn't okay. Was this a lost opportunity to bring in some new blood?
Yes. Without question. It's not a stagnant move, but it's not a progressive move. I think it can be an incremental move. Maybe like if you like Lake was saying, make a few tweaks, maybe it looks a little better, but it doesn't move the needle one way or the other.
Are they good enough?
Yes. Yes, because that's the thing, and I think that's why I'm okay with the hire, because internal promotions allow you to keep it allows less likely transfers. So guys that maybe haven't played much, Braylon Trice, Josh Calvert was an example, where maybe those guys would transfer out if you brought a whole new coach in who they didn't have a relationship with, whereas you're empowering coaches and hopefully the coaches empower the players. And I think that is a reason to be optimistic, because the talent is there on the roster. It just hasn't been tapped into yet.
All right, probably we're talking seconds. Is he a good recruiter? Does this help recruiting either way?
I think he's a decent recruiter. I don't think he's as good of a recruiter as maybe he could be, in the sense of being more in tune with the younger generation and things like that. But I think he is certainly an absolutely excellent evaluator of talent at the lower level in terms of high school players and coaching them up.
Once they get on campus.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. We didn't talk about Akaika. We didn't even talk about Bonaparte. So we're going to have to table that discussion. And those are our guys. So we'll need to spend some time next week a little bit. There's always something will always happen. UW, the women continue understaffed. 7 scholarship players. So they play USC on Friday, and then UCLA, number ranked 6th, on Sunday, and then the UW's got a game tonight. The men's team,
Oregon State.
There you go. All right, so that is it. Woo! There we go. We got it done. Way to go, Lars of the Dawg Report, and I'm Mazvita Maraire of CascadiaSports.net. And this is Seattle Sports Weekly on Rainier Avenue Radio.world. D-Money, thank you so much for the behind the scenes. Want to thank Evarist Akujobi. He's gone, but he'll be back. He's probably checking what's in his bag. And we'll be back next week on Seattle Sports Weekly.